Hey folks, welcome to the match review for Leeds United 0, Manchester City 1. We had a proper go towards the end of that, but against a very, very good Manchester City side who controlled large portions of the game just purely down to the absolute quality that they've got across the park to a man. When you look at the statistics after the game, Man City may have had a lot more possession than Leeds, but we kept them to an XG of 1.7, which is really good. 4 big chances for them in the game, 14 shots on total. We matched them in that department. Probably weren't as clinical as we probably needed to be. Daniel Farke spoke in his press conference in midweek about the fact that Leeds would need to be effective in both boxes. And for the very most part of the game, we were very effective in our own box, but bar one moment in the first half where maybe, and we could be slightly critical here, Anton Stach doesn't quite follow the run of Aït-Nouri, but a bit of clever work by Man City to get that into that position in the first place. But Leeds started very well and they finished very well. That block in the middle belongs to Manchester City, but ultimately, results that happened today have gone in Leeds' favour. West Ham losing by the margin they've lost in as well, which changes the goal difference even more in our favour. And Leeds only losing out 1-0 at home to Manchester City. But the home record or the home run, unfortunately, comes to an end tonight, which I thought we all thought would happen. But towards the end of that game, and the big talking point for me is going to be, and I need to see if the comments come out anytime soon, why was Daniel Farke so angry at the final whistle? He ran at the referee at full time, and the referee had the red card out before Farke ever got to him. So I'd love to know what was said and why it's a red card, and if Leeds can even appeal that, because it does mean he'll miss the game against Sunderland on Tuesday night, which is an important game for Leeds. Missed the game from the sideline, but still an important person to have on that sideline, or he'll probably just be sitting 3 or 4 rows up the back with a headset on him, likely anyway. But an interesting thing to see what happened, what got him so enraged. There was a potential show for a handball at one point in the second half where it kind of hits the guy on the shoulder. Maybe it was that. Maybe he wasn't happy with the decisions towards the end of the game. But I've never seen Daniel Farke that wound up or lose his cool so quickly at the end of a game. He's usually quite pragmatic and understands situations, or at least just dust it off and will have some form of conversation. But I'd love to know his take on this. Whether he wants to talk about it or not will remain to be seen. We'll go through the game as we always do. We'll go through the first half in a bit more detail. We'll go through the second half in a bit more detail. And then we'll talk about the different areas of the pitch, the performance, individual performances, decisions that were made on the game, as well as the team sheet before the game versus after the game. Throat's a bit sore. I got a bit shouty towards the end of that game. I thought we were going to nick it when the changes were made. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Folks, if you're listening on the audio platforms on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we are part of the Sports Social Network, and we do have an 8% discount code with okjersey.com if you want to support the channel. That way, get some World Cup shirts for a World Cup summer. There's also going to be some Patrick's Day merch on Fanatics, by the way. Some really nice tracksuit tops from Leeds that go live at 9 a.m. limited supply, so keep an eye out for them. Right, that's the contractual stuff plugged. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could give us a like as well as a subscribe, that'd be massively appreciated as well. Right, let's talk about the first half. Let's talk about the start of the game first. Let's talk about the team sheet that came out, and Daniel Farke named an unchanged lineup for the same team that played against Aston Villa away. Thoughts going into the game before the match, looking at that lineup where we can't sit or play as slowly as we played against Aston Villa. Not that that was necessarily our fault in the second half. Villa pushed us back, but we couldn't set up that way against Manchester City, or they just take us apart. And we didn't. We absolutely didn't. Leeds came out of the blocks firing on all cylinders. The press was aggressive and fast. It was in numbers. We weren't letting them settle on the ball. We were hitting them hard with tackles. We were not letting them ease their way into the game. But there was only so long you can sustain that level of a press without actually getting the football. And we didn't have enough of the ball in that first half. We'd spells. You can see on the momentum graph down below. We did have spells, but ultimately you're going to have to drop off at some point, and we're going to get tired, and you're going to get heavy legs. And that's just unfortunately the reality of football. And Manchester City have got so much quality. When they do get their foot on the ball, they can take their time. They're patient. They know their goal or their chances will come at some point. And they just kept the ball away from Leeds United, and they kept Leeds chasing it. And that, unfortunately, was always going to tire the legs out. But they did so well in that first half to defend against City. We had chances. We'll talk about them. The two biggest chances were Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Brendan Aronson, which, strangely enough, both of them wouldn't have counted had they gone in. Calvert-Lewin, would have been a foul given on Mark Gahey in the build-up, and Brendan Aronson was offside for the ball played through for him. So both, had they been gone in the back of the net, would have been ruled out by VAR. Anyway, but Leeds still created decent chances in that first half and probably needed to make sure that they took one of them. Daniel Farke spoke about, as we said, about being effective in both boxes. Weren't as effective in the attacking box as we needed to be, but we defended really, really well. The physical press was there. We got tired in the second half, and I think the change in the second half helped as well. But it was always a case, you can see on the momentum graph how much of the play was with Man City from 30 minutes towards the end, and you just felt the goal was coming from Man City. And where Leeds had managed to keep Aït-Nouri very, very quiet on the left-hand side, 1v1 against Bogle, Jayden Bogle and James Justin were doing a good job on him. But Manchester City made a change. They swapped Aït-Nouri and Cherki. And Aït-Nouri went infield in a 1-2 with Cherki. And there's just a moment where Anton Stach stops looking at Aït-Nouri and looks at the ball. And Aït-Nouri makes a run off the back of his shoulder, gets the ball in behind them, pulls it back, and Semenyo does what an attacker should do and gets between the two centre halves and gets a tap into the back of the net. You felt it was coming. It was a shame it came just before halftime because, as I say, Leeds defended really, really well at that point. The shape was good. The defensive movement was good. It was all very good. But again, against a side with the investment and the players they've got on their side, they were going to create chances at some point. We just needed to make sure we didn't give them those chances in that one moment to get in behind. The question was then going to be, what did Daniel Farke do at halftime? Would he change like he changed against Man City in the first game? A much tighter game, I think. So maybe not as keen. Doesn't make any changes. But what was becoming apparent was Leeds was struggling to get out. And it was more a case of every time they cleared it, Man City picked it up and came again. And Leeds would push back and push back. And the midfield ended up on top of the 18-yard line, on top of the defence, which you don't want to have. That gives them space to play in. We couldn't deal with that. But you needed to get out. We needed an out ball. And maybe it was a Nanto. Maybe it was a Dan James. Maybe it was a second player in Lucas Mecha to give Dominic Calvert-Lewin somebody to work with to try and hold the ball up when Leeds did clear and give us a chance to get out. And we had to wait a little bit of time for that. I think it was the 55th minute or 56th minute when Leeds did make that change and brought on Lucas Mecha, which made a difference. It did make a difference. But the midfield for me was probably the weakest it's been. And I praised Ethan Ampadu to the hilt in the last couple of weeks. He had an off day today. His passing wasn't as crisp as it has been. His decision-making at times. Carl Darlow makes a wonderful save in the first half. And Ethan Ampadu heads the ball straight back at him. And there was just a couple of minutes around there where Ampadu had swiped at a couple of clearances and sliced them, where his passing was either a little bit too short or a little bit overhit. He kicked one straight out of play, put players in difficult positions. I think Ethan might have just, as somebody said in their watch-along, adrenaline burst. Might have been just up for it a little bit too much. His passing wasn't as good as it has been, and put us in a few sticky situations in the first half and a couple in the second half is where he left it short or tried a big diagonal and didn't make it. Stack was very good at the start of the game, was doing really, really well, but starts to fade as the game starts to go on a bit, looked a bit leggy. Gruev looked leggy 10 minutes into the second half, and that was the change that was made. Gruev comes off, Mecha goes on up front, and that started to make a difference. But the next two changes, when he brings Nanto and Dan James on, that was the one that really turned the game back towards Leeds' favour. Yacobiol coming on late as well. First thing he does is have a header just wide of goal. So Leeds made the changes to try and get back in the game. And what they did was interesting to see Man City getting two players booked for time wasting. The goalkeeper gets booked for messing around as well. And Pep Guardiola is incredibly wound up on the sideline. They look nervous. And that's a big thing to say for a Leeds United side that still has a lot of players that played in the Championship last year in it and fifth from bottom. Second time we played against Man City where they looked edgy heading towards the end of the game. And unlucky not to get something from it towards the very, very end of it. They probably had more of the ball. They did. They doubled the amount of passes that we had. But I thought that proper little goal Leeds had towards the end, you were hoping you were going to get one half chance. There was little moments when Mecha wins a header and he heads it back across goal, and Joe Pirou's kind of standing still rather than reading the header and expecting it to go into that area and taking a chance and going for it. Doesn't do it. There's a little flick onto back post. Well, Nanto gets in behind and there's a poke back and it's bouncing around. You just can't get a half a yard to get a strike away. So, yeah, sloppy enough, scrappy stuff in the box, but usually kind of stuff that would benefit a side in this situation that Leeds were in that moment. You're just hoping for one to drop to somebody to poke into the back of the net, or Yacobiol or someone to get on the end of a header. But it wasn't to be, and we ended up losing 1-0. But hell of a fight by Leeds. Defended really, really well. Both halves. That one moment that they switched off. Carl Darlow should be called out. Made some very big saves in the game as well. Was excellent. Thought Pascal Stroke made a few very important interceptions as well. But we'll go through the individual players as well. We started off with Darlow. I thought he was very good. I thought his distribution was good. Kicked one out of play. That was it. Outside that, he was very, very steady. He makes three really big saves, and one where he comes out and smothers the ball in an important place as well. Very, very good game for me for Carl Darlow. Jayden Bogle on the right-hand side was fine. Was starting to look a bit tired. I think that's maybe why he got changed. James Justin was very good in the right centre-back position. That was the question before the game. Play Justin, he played Bial. I think Leeds' defence is better with Bial in there, but you can't argue that James Justin's been very, very good and was again in this, and does give something extra for Leeds, that double right back kind of position Leeds like to play him when both of them are in the side when Ampadu sits. Joe Rodon, again, as usual, gets about his business, played well. No major errors there. And Pascal Struijk, again, very good game from Pascal Struijk. Usually we're talking about Pascal Struijk playing well from an attacking perspective, but defensively, Pascal Struijk was very good today. He read the game well. He won his headers. He won his second balls, and he stepped across and swept when he needed to do that as well. So very good. Gabby Goodmanson, very good going forward. I thought you had a really good game today. The sofa score, by the way, haven't given. These ratings are only here as a visual, by the way. Don't take these to heart. Our Finalysis ones that are voted on by Leeds fans will be available tomorrow over on our Instagram page, the Leeds View on Instagram. You can check them out there if you want to. But for right now, after the game, it's just a visual to give an indicator. But it is an algorithm, and it doesn't give Gabby Goodmanson a great score there. And he had a very good game. I thought he did very, very well against Marmoush, Semenyo, and Turkey when they were all rotating around and moving. He had a very good game, got forward, put some decent balls in as well for Leeds, and was a good attacking threat for Leeds. Midfield was the weakness for me today. I just don't think the midfield was as on it as they have been. Gruev was kind of trying to chase Rodri around the place. Good luck. Incredibly intelligent footballer. He passes it and he's gone. He pops up somewhere else. He's an excellent footballer, Rodri, and trying to keep up with him was going to be difficult. Ampadu, as I say, out of possession. There's a couple of moments where you want to see him going smashing into a player and winning a ball, and he tries to just flick it and loses the 50-50, and his passing wasn't great today. It was an off day for Ethan Ampadu for me, but he's got credit in the bank. He's been very, very good for the last couple of weeks. He's been getting better. Like I said last week, probably player of the year this year, has an off day today, but by the way, that long throw is definitely, it was said in their watch long, it's definitely getting longer. We're lucky not to get on the end of it. Anton Stach started very well, maybe started to fade out of it a little bit. Maybe that's the game time, catching up on him a little bit. Brendan Aronson, you got the work rate from him that we always get from him. Was decent, has a good chance, would have been offside. So ultimately, can't hold that against him too much. Put a great ball in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin for his chance as well. But himself and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the more the first half went on, the start of the second half, they got more and more isolated. The gaps are bigger and they're trying to do stuff on their own. It was going to be difficult. Calvert-Lewin, much better when he had someone to play off. He won his battles when he could. He tried to hold the ball up. He tried to head it down. He came back and defended an awful lot. The changes as well. Mecha comes on. Thought he was decent when he came on. Yacobi all the same. Willie Nanto, really, really good when he came on. Looked very keen to get on the ball and try and get at them. I thought Dan James just didn't get him in the areas you want to get him in when he came on. And maybe Sean Longstaff could have done something there as well. Joe Pirro came on in a very weird position, just kind of floated around trying to get on the end of it. Not a huge impact from him, but not really sure where he was supposed to be playing. But look, all in all, it's a 1-0 home defeat to Man City. No points, but we still finish this weekend. We go into 10 games left, and we still go in 6 points clear of relegation with a better goal difference than we did coming into this weekend. And you don't know what's going to happen with Forest in their match tomorrow. Spurs are playing tomorrow as well. So there are bigger games. Sunderland is a very big game on Tuesday night for Leeds United. It's the game I actually will be at. Chance to get over to see them again. And that for me is a game that if Leeds play like this in the spells when they were aggressive and the way they've played against a lot of the top sides this season, against the likes of Sunderland, Brentford, Palace, when we get Wolves and Burnley as well, that's where the points are going to be picked up. Our next three in the league are Sunderland at home, Palace away, Brentford at home. If you can get the points in those three, ultimately they'll be the games that will decide the season, not necessarily Man City at home. But a very good defensive performance. I don't want to be critical. I know we've lost and we all feel a bit down. Always do. That's a hell of a Man City squad with a huge amount of money in it. Not letting us off the hook completely either. I didn't think the midfield was good enough today. But again, if you're going off levels, midfield versus midfield, get a better team. But I think some of the basic stuff in the midfield was a bit sloppy today from us. That's the criticism. Outside of that, we created chances. Should have scored a couple. We'll go through them in a bit more detail actually now while we do it. First half, very early on, Aronson's cross goes in and DCL puts it just wide. And you would imagine DCL would score that. But they go back and they showed that there was a collision between him and Gay. Referee had said it. Would have been ruled out by VAR for the foul. 7 minutes before City got their first chance, and it was only a half a chance even at that. And then they were offside. Semenyo gets in behind. Bit of a warning for Leeds as well, and he smashes the ball over the crossbar. In the 14th minute, I just wrote down, Leeds have started this game with huge amount of energy. The press is excellent. City can't control the game, can't get on it, but they'd started to build into the game a little bit. And then ultimately from that point on, they took control of the game for the most part. 16th minute, Leeds have a chance again. Struijk put a ball over the top for DCL to run in behind. He does really well, do a little kind of a pirouette and turn on Mark Gay and tries to put it across. Doesn't get a corner and should because it just comes off Donnarumma's foot and goes out of play. 17th minute, Leeds had another chance. Lovely play with Brendan Aronson, the corner flag, little bit of a foot magic to try and keep hold of the ball. Nutmeg gets it out, goes to Gruev into James Justin on the edge of the penalty area, and he shoots, and it's a good save by the goalkeeper. 20 minutes then, Leeds have another chance. Jaden Bogle does really well to block Ait Nuri's clearance down the line. That's when the press was aggressive. Gets in around the back of him, gets into the penalty area, smashes the ball across the box, and Aronson's trying to get across the front post and just pokes it. It looked like Aronson shot wide. The camera angle from the back shows that actually Mark Gahey gets a foot and blocks the shot. So a really good block from him. Then it's 38 minutes, Leeds' next chance. Anton Stack gets the ball to Brendan Aronson. He's 1v1 with the goalkeeper, tries to nutmeg him. Donnarumma closes his legs, blocks it, goes out for what would have been a corner kick, but it's not given because he would have been offside. So the offside was given and it came back. So it wouldn't have counted anyway. And then Man City started to get their chances. 40th minute before they got their proper chance, which tells you how good that defensive set by Leeds was. It was a cross in. Nick O'Reilly gets his head to it. It's a brilliant save by Carl Darlow, who's going one way and has to dive across to the other way to make the save. And then Ethan Ampadu heads the ball. Strange decision. Straight back at him. And Ampadu in that spell was just a bit all over the place, making some strange decisions. But he got away with it. And I've seen Ethan Ampadu do that before, but it tends to work quite well. But it's usually a defender that's headed to clear and he heads it back to the keeper and takes the pressure off. But in this situation, the goalkeeper was lying on the ground. And then 41 minutes straight away, City get another chance. Nick O'Reilly goes into his feet and he just spins on the ball. It was actually a really nice touch by him in the box. And then Pascal Struijk gets across with an excellent block and cuts off the angle. Really well read by Pascal Struijk. And then the goal came in the 46th minute, just in injury time at the end of the first half. Cherki gets the ball to Ait Nuri. That swap over happened. He runs the blind side of Anton Stack, gets in behind, smashes across the box, and Semenyo's in between the two centre halves. So the positives in the first half were how we started it and how we dealt with Man City for large portions of that first half. We were very well organised, good shape, good press when we needed to, but we had started to drop. And that's, again, the opposition you're playing against. The negatives in the first half were just basically couldn't keep that press up for as long as we needed to and didn't make our chances count when we had them. And then just that last switch off for that 1 second. And unfortunately, they're the ones that catch it. And then the second half was Leeds started the second half pretty decently as well. They had a chance straight away. Stacks cross. DCL chests the ball down. That's a tough one because you can see the tackle coming from the defender and he just chests the ball a bit too heavy ahead of himself and it can't get it down quick enough to get the shot away, and it was blocked in the end. 52 minutes, Man City have a really good chance. Leeds midfield by this point was getting completely overrun, just weren't pressing, weren't winning the ball back, weren't close enough, weren't winning second balls, and the ball was crossed in for Marmouche, who shot over. 55. City were at walking pace in the game at this point. Leeds had just dropped off completely and just no press, no effort to try and get the ball back, just holding a low block and trying to withstand it. And there was a stamp in the 56th minute. You can let me know your thoughts on this one. The whistle's blown, the ball between Gruev's feet. Cherki kicks it out of his feet and then steps backwards. He doesn't look at him, but he stands on Gruev's shin. There's no check, no card given. But it's a bit cheeky for me from Cherki. Cheeky Cherki. That stamp, it's not a great look. And for me, it was a stamp. 60th minute then, Leeds were out of the game completely. They're just completely dominating the game. And the midfield being dictated by Manchester City. And Leeds had lost it completely at that point. Then we started to see the changes start to happen. 70th minute, Man City get a chance. Cherki gets away from Ethan Ampadu. That's the one where he pulls out a tackle for me, which I didn't like seeing that. And then Semenyo gets the ball, shoots straight, gets a shot through the middle and shoots wide. 71 minutes, another chance for Manchester City. And Carl Darlow makes an excellent save here. It's a corner, comes in, it's cleared, comes in again. Mark Gahey at the back post, gets a header at it, and it's going right in the corner. Doesn't get a huge amount of power on it, but it's a brilliant save from Carl Darlow to get across full length to make the save. 74th minute, Leeds make the change. Nanto on for Gruev, Bogle on for Dan James, the holding turns. Leeds start to come forward again, and Leeds had a couple of half chances, but the best chance was in the 87th minute when just after Yacobiel had come on, corner's taken, Biel gets his header to it, and it just goes wide of the post. And that was it. But like, we finished the game really strongly. We started the game very strongly. We defended well for most of the game. We limited them to not a huge amount of chances. And when they did get chances, we had players in there to block them. So from that perspective, there's a lot of positives, but it's hard to say positive and you've not picked up many points. But again, you're lucky you're playing against. And then the negatives, just the midfield. Just the midfield for me just wasn't where we needed to be today. But again, you're talking about the quality of opposition that you're up against. So yeah, that's the main review. We lost the game. We haven't lost any points on the bottom three spaces, and there's another game down. So it's another set of weekends where we're still at that gap, and we coming in again. Look at this. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. With the 3 games coming up, you had Man City, Aston Villa, and Chelsea. How close to the relegation zone would we be coming out of those 3? We picked up 2 points and narrowly lost to Man City at home. And we're exactly where we were going into it. So that's very agreeable. We've now got a set of games ahead of us where we need to go and win games. These are the ones we have to go in and show the heart, the fight, the bravery that we've shown in certain games in certain weeks to get at these teams and try and get wins in the game. But we'll jump into your comments now and we'll see what everyone is. Everyone, as always, for everyone watching the video, if you could stick a like on the video, that would be great. Really, really appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio or if you're watching on the video, if you can give the channel a rating, give us a subscribe or follow, all that good stuff. Just remember, again, from a contractual point of view, we've got a deal with okjersey.com. There is 8% off their football shirts. You can check it out, okjersey.com. And the code is TView at your checkout. And we will be back on tomorrow morning for the Sunday sessions, which is free on all the audio podcast. The video version will be available to members only. So if you want to join up and be a member, you can do that as well. And the Patrick's Day collection will be out from Fanatics for Leeds. There's a really nice tracksuit top with a Shamrock and a Leeds crest on it, which I love. Be out on Monday, 9 a.m. You can check that out. I'll give you more details of that over on the social media. So if you're not following us at the Leeds View on Instagram, do follow us over there. We have the Fanatics ratings out as well. Massive thanks to everyone for watching us tonight. Disappointed we didn't get anything from that, but a hell of a performance from Leeds nonetheless. And we march on. And we got bigger games, and we have to go now and get a result against Sunderland and start to open a gap, bigger gap between us and the bottom three sides. But as it is, the weekend finishes at least between us and the bottom three, and Leeds are exactly the same gap with a better goal difference than we were coming into this weekend. 10 games left for Leeds. We're in a decent position. It's in our hands, and we have got games coming up that we need to be on the front foot in and need to go and win. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will talk to you all soon. Really appreciate you joining me today and over on bigup.com. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.